Welcome to Fandoms, a show from every fan's point of view.
And that's right. It is Friday night. It is Fandoms. We're going to be talking about stuff that's happened either through this week or that things we can look forward to come. But before we do that, let's go ahead and have Pooja's picks. So Pooja, take it away.
Everyone, and welcome back to Pooja's Picks. My name is Pooja, and I'm here to bring you the latest in movie news. Let's take a look at what's now playing and what's coming soon. Argylle has been causing a ton of buzz lately, and for reasons you might not expect. The film, directed by Matthew Vaughn, follows celebrated author Ellie Conway, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who writes action espionage novels for a living and is specifically known for her series Argylle. However, this only gets her caught up in a whirlwind of adventures when she realizes her main character is an actual spy and uncovers a whole new world of espionage. What's crazy about this whole situation, though, that's got people up in arms? Well, it might be that early last month an actual book titled Argylle by author Ellie Conway was released. So not only are we on a mission to discover who the real Agent Argylle is, we're also trying to figure out who the real-life Ellie Conway is. Be sure to check this movie out in theaters this weekend. If you're looking to travel back in time and revisit some classic cinema, you're in luck. The 60th anniversary of the critically acclaimed film My Fair Lady is making it back to theaters for 2 days only. The story of My Fair Lady goes way back as it follows a young and poor Cockney girl who makes a living selling flowers, only to have a wealthy and arrogant professor make a bet that he can teach her proper English and turn her into a woman suitable for high society. This musical comedy drama film was directed by George Cukor and stars Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison in the lead roles. Whether you've seen this film a million times like I have, or you're looking to watch something you've never seen before, I can definitely recommend giving this one a watch. Are you as big a fan of Pixar's Turning Red as I am? Well then get ready, because this movie is finally making it to the big screen on February 9th. For those who are unaware and have no idea what this movie is about, the film centers around a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian girl, Meilin Lee, who is suddenly having to go through a major unexpected change. Just being able to turn into a gigantic, adorable, fluffy red panda. With the help of her friends and her family, Mei must navigate through generational traumas and figure out who she wants to be as opposed to who others want her to be. After having its release move strictly to streaming on Disney Plus 2 years ago, we can now watch this movie in theaters and experience the essence of super kawaii aesthetic, boy band obsessions, and totally 90s and 2000s vibes. Be sure to grab your tickets ASAP and don't forget to show off your 420 pride! And that's all that I have for this week. Be sure to tune into the next Fandoms episode for more of Pooja's Picks. I am going to have to go look into seeing if there's a 410 reunion, so until then, back to Tony.
And thank you for that, Pooja. I will say this. I really liked Turning Red, and I have to pull out my Four Town shirt, because that would probably be something that I would like to wear during that movie. I've heard a lot of mixed things about Agent Argylle or Agent Argylle.
Just Argylle. Just Argylle.
Just Argylle.
Hi, everybody, by the way.
Yeah, hi, Will. Welcome.
Here with Tony that Pooja threw to.
Yeah.
It's an industry term, throwing. So she threw it back to you, you know?
Yeah, anyway. She did. And I caught it real quick. And then, you tried to knock me over there real quick.
No, I wasn't trying to knock anyone over.
I know.
I'm a part of this too, man. Especially if you're going to have me on camera. It's just awkward if I don't say something.
I'm having a hard time with you not wearing glasses, though. It doesn't look normal.
That's because I take my glasses off and you instead expect to see a black shirt, white vest, and white coat. And you expect me to say something like, Maya, we're family. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, as soon as I have the funds,
I want you to pull off a Kingpin costume.
As soon as I have the funds, I'm getting the suit, and no matter where I go, no matter what weight I am, that's just going to be my go-to cosplay. All I need are contact.
You need to 3D resin print that thing on the top, the diamond part of the the cane.
Cane. Oh, well, I have a Willy Wonka cane too. So if it's something that I make threaded, then I can swap them out.
By the way, hello, samosas and popcorn in there. She's talking to Will, but I know. There you go.
Well, I've never been more thankful to be guesting on something, because I had no idea Turning Red was coming to theaters, and given how much my daughter originally liked it and how much I even enjoyed it as a 50-something-year-old white guy, I am definitely going to be throwing some of my shekels at seeing that movie in the theater.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's fun because I was disappointed that it was only a Disney Plus release, but I did get it on Blu-ray when it came out, and it's one of those movies where some people didn't get it, but that's okay, because it's nice to see something outside of the norm for, it's out of the real house. Like, I think Disney does a great job of that. I would say Pocahontas was kind of a watering down of history, but you have, Mulan, you have, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't remember, Aladdin. You have these these are characters of cultures, but it's nice to see something that's a little bit more grounded and makes a lot more sense.
So something much more cultural in character.
Yes.
Like, see what I did there? Yeah.
I noticed that. Thank you. So first of all, want to go ahead and just get this out of the way. A couple things. I'm going to say this at the top. Rich, I had said I was thinking about doing it at the end, but I'm going to do this. The next episode of Fandoms is on the 16th, I believe. We'll be having TikTok content creator and travel guide, Fat Tested Travel, joining us to talk amusement parks, which is kind of fitting since we just had news released about the new Universal parks that are coming out in Orlando. And speaking of Orlando, I also just want to mention we have teams of Nerd Initiative that are at MegaCon this weekend. I know they're probably at the Roosevelt's Epcot meetup, but make sure you follow Hops Geek News. Matt and Lauren are both there. They've been doing their panels. They're at, I believe, a Roosevelt's meetup right now. And then on top of all of that, they're going to be going around seeing the different stuff. And so if you see them around and you see the Nerd Initiative, I can't tell where I'm at in the camera. The Nerd Initiative logo on a hat or something, be sure to say hello to them. What's that? What?
I said you're in front of it. You said you don't know where you are in the camera. You're in front of it.
Absolutely. And then we will be doing more Cinema Smackdowns coming down the road. We are working on those being the show that happens on the Fridays that Fandoms doesn't. So you'll be getting a daily dose or a weekly dose of something Fandoms related. And then the winner of that Friday would then be announced here. And since we had a Cinema Smackdown at the last episode, I am pleased to announce that the winner, well, I guess I shouldn't be so pleased, but the winner of the last Cinema Smackdown of the best tech noir was Equilibrium. I am literally 0 for 2 now. So
I'm sorry, bro. You so had it in the bag the first time. But that was an unfair contest because, I mean, let's face it, I have access to audiences that if I wanted to abuse, which I did.
Yes, you did.
And I know you told me too, you ran a good campaign. You did exactly what you should. But, even I concede the fact that for a crappy book adaptation, but an amazing movie, trying to compare Jurassic Park to Ready Player One is literally like trying to compare Jurassic Park to Ready Player One. It's apples and oranges. One is an interesting visual spectacle. The other is a cinematic defining movie that drew a line in the sand. So anyway.
Yeah, well, well, let's just face it. Ready Player One drew a new line in the sand this year.
Yeah.
So bravo to you, Will, for doing that. Whatever. And it's funny, like I do the campaigns on the Nerd Initiative socials, and I did them like once a week. But Will comes in. I made the mistake of the first SmackDown of tagging you in that post. I think if I didn't tag you, you wouldn't have been aware to do what you did, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, at first
let's just face it. You will now be a reason why rules are put into a rule book for Cinema Smackdown. Which also want to announce Mickey, I think, may have mentioned it on live. I don't think he did for sure, but Mickey has been volunteered to kind of like be our referee or our host as well for Cinema Smackdown. So it should be interesting. I feel like we need to get like a Nerd Initiative referee shirt, which could work for a lot more than just Cinema Smackdown, because it could also like go delve into like wrestling stuff down the road or whatever.
Well, I mean,
Just pass the shirt around to everybody.
Not for nothing. Isn't that just a referee shirt with the logo just kind of like stitched on or even transferred onto via inkjet printer in that special paper?
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, 3D one CJ, and then just badge it up.
Let me say this real quick. CJ from In the Name of Comics. Love you, man. Thank you so much for reaching out. He was a guest on our show. Was it season 2? I think it was. And if you haven't checked out In the Name of Comics, be sure to check out their social medias as well as their website, inthenameofcomics.com. Yeah, absolutely. Met them at C2E2 this last year, which is coming up in the end of April, and had a great conversation with them. Fast friends. So absolutely love that you dropped in. Thank you so much, buddy. So we talked about the Cinema Smackdown results. We know that Fat Test of Travel is coming. It's weird saying it that way, but that Fat Test of Travel is going to be joining us next show to talk about amusement parks. I'll tell you right now, that man made my Disney World experience. He made it memorable for 2022 when we went. Because I'll tell you, I was apprehensive of going because I really wanted to ride the Cosmic Rewind ride at Epcot. And I was like, I've been turned away from rides before because I am a girthy guy. And he went on the ride and I felt so much better going. My knees were a little bit pained because I'm a little bit taller, I think, than him, but everything else worked out perfectly. So I was absolutely happy. If you're definitely a person that wants to know about like accessibility with rides, regardless of if you're a plus size person, he walks through and goes through and shows you like even how you can like test out and see if it works out, even like for the Tron ride and things like that down the road. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the next show.
Dude, so even at my sveltest, if you will, my lightest, which is clearly sometime behind me again, I had stress about the exact same thing because, so I'm telling you right now, it's not weird to say the name that way because Fat Tested Travel now are 3 of the most high praiseworthy, reassuring words I've ever heard together in the thought of going anywhere or doing anything. The fact that somebody's been there and now has confirmed for me, I won't get no guff. I'm totally for it.
Yeah. And I like his videos. Like even if it's not a park I'm going to, I do enjoy going through and kind of looking and seeing, what he's done. Makes you kind of think about planning for future events and what rides not to waste your time standing in line for. Because the last thing you want to do is like this guy stand in a line at Six Flags, and then all of a sudden you get there and they're trying to get that thing around your waist, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry, public shame, but you're gonna have to walk off the line now." So yeah,
not comfortable, not cool. The one thing I'll never forget was just it was the Matterhorn, and it wasn't so much a worried about getting kicked off as much as, oh my God, this is what this feels like kind of thing where, it's so stressful. But I did also want to, never mind. Go ahead.
No, what are you gonna say?
I forgot. I literally forgot. I'm a goldfish tonight, man. I don't know what's with me.
Well, that's fine. So,
oh no, I was gonna say this is stupid. See, this is absolutely not relevant. Sometimes let's go with our instinct when Will says let's just continue, because I am surprised that nobody has made Disneyland outside of Disneyland merch, especially in the way of a T-shirt. Because I'm gonna say something, and you're gonna know exactly what I mean if you've been to the parks, which is like pulling that yellow strap is like all it says, and then just like an example of the yellow strap, and you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I would love a T-shirt like that. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. There should be shirts when you go to the parks that you wear a specific size and it lets you know on the shirt, since you can fit into this shirt, these are the rides you can ride.
Oh wow, that's a good idea too. Okay, hey man, quick. What's on my left shoulder again? Tell
Oh,
me. Oh no, you can have on the front too. Hey, let me
yeah.
ask you a question. Tony, am I a part of your Patreon?
You were.
I was. Oh,
You were.
that's not a good look.
Yeah. Well, you were on for a while, but again, there are some things going down the road. I will be talking about that as it happens. So you check me on my social media because the Patreon is getting revamped. I've kind of
Awesome.
taken some liberties and definitely going to be looking forward to making some announcements about some new things that are coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go ahead and jump into some news because I don't want to take a whole lot of time because I know I may have mentioned this, but I want to say this because especially if my family is watching, hopefully they're watching because they said they might be watching. And if you're not watching, then I'm going to have to
Oh
judge
my
them
God,
later.
why are you disclaimering this to death? Get to the point.
But we were at a family member's house this evening and they surprised my son and I with a PS5.
Oh
And
man.
so I will not be existing outside of my basement for probably the next 48 to 72 hours. Um,
Now,
I've
I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to appreciate. But if you are not at least twitching some of that, just a small portion of it, I'm going to fly out to that other coast and smack you. I'm
I
just saying.
have something that I can port the PlayStation 5 into the computer, so that may very possibly happen.
I'm just saying.
I get
Just
you. I
saying.
get you. But regardless, I'm
Yeah, let's
super
get to the
excited about
news.
that. I get to actually experience what I've been watching everybody else live stream on TikTok.
Oh, is that what that I'm seeing a lot of game clips of something that's Suicide Squad related. Is that what you're
Yes,
referring to?
no, I was talking about Spider-Man 2,
Oh, okay.
because that's come and gone. But yeah, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is out, I believe, today. And looks like a lot of fun. Basically, Brainiac corrupts the Justice League, and Task Squad, was it Task Squad X has to get involved because of Amanda Waller. So definitely looks interesting. I know some people got the early download, which also came with like the characters in the Justice League costumes. So like you could
Mhm.
have King Shark as Superman and Harley Quinn as Wonder Woman, which I thought was hilarious. And for whatever reason, Captain Boomerang wearing the Flash costume made sense. So what are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just telling somebody else is bothering me because, well, not bothering me. They're checking in with me, but also freaking out because they sent me a gift, and I'm not going to show it here because it's off camera. But as you know, a little bit of a Kevin Smith fan, and what they sent me were signed stills from Mallrats, where it's
Oh,
it's Shannon Doherty and Jason Lee and both their signatures, and then whichever one of the London kids, I think it was Jeremy London, and the woman who was in Meet Joe Black, Claire Forlani, I think might be her name, and
okay.
her signature on it as well. And I got to get them framed. But I was just telling him, I'm like, hey man, I'm busy, and then I sent him a link to the show because I'm trying to cast it, reel him in like
Well, I
that. So that's what
appreciate
was
that.
going on off screen.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about some things. This is not a guest show. That will be the next episode with Fat Test to Travel. But let's go ahead and talk about some things that have happened. And we were mentioning TikTok. So if you are on TikTok, you may have noticed that a lot of the music that you would normally hear when you were watching a video is gone. You can't add those songs, and a lot of your favorite videos may be muted now if you had not downloaded them before on apps like Snapchat or something like that. And so, Will, you want to kind of like touch about all this a little bit?
I will, first of all, this is the reason why I've mostly stayed away from copyrighted music in my content, because if I'm linking the sound, I don't, there is a licensing to get that on there, and that could go away. And now, like one of the creators that I follow, is I can't remember the name of the account, but like all she does are basically tells Star Wars related dad jokes, and she's twirling a lightsaber off like for the opening part and then lit for the gag, right? But it's always
Yep.
been to one song, and now 90% of her content is silent.
Yeah.
The whole situation is regrettable, but also you got to realize it's a business. And the other thing too that you got to think about is it just says that TikTok, which for a while, actually right now it's really just a pissing contest between two big companies, and
Mhm.
all the content creators are getting caught in the middle because, one was like saying we don't want to pay that licensing, and they're like, well, we'll take it away, and they're like, okay. So, now it's a tit for tat situation until maybe they come together, because for a while TikTok was a very driving application for music, and it being shared and becoming popular. So,
Yeah.
it was a big thing. There have been artists that have been discovered on the platform whose music has now been pulled off because they're universal artists. And I just got to say, it's a shame to get caught in the middle, but it'll be interesting. It'll be defining for TikTok what truly happens next. Because if they're like, then it lets you know they are just trying to be the in your handheld QVC. Or if the music comes back, they're still taking themselves serious as a potential music uh, platform.
Yeah. And it's interesting though. So from what I understand on my end of because you piece together, all of your information from the source, from TikTok videos or whatnot. Um, so they had negotiations. I said this in a video before. UMG wanted a piece of the pie. TikTok basically said there really is no pie to have a piece of. It's really we're making money off of other things, not the music itself. Plus, we've done you a benefit, and Universal came out and basically said, well, then we'll just pull all the music. And I think TikTok was the one who actually went ahead and just pulled the music, because there are some independent artists that have had their music taken off that are not part of UMG. And so it's kind of interesting to see how it happens. Now, again, this is a negotiation tactic. I would recommend, if you don't have a large amount of your you may also want to do this if you even have a large amount of your content that is muted right now, is just wait and see. Give it some time, because the odds that those songs may come back are very high. Because when UMG understands what benefit they lose from not having their music promoted, because I can tell you right now, I've heard music off of TikTok that I downloaded specifically because I heard it off of TikTok. And if it weren't for TikTok, I wouldn't have known about it. And that's probably 90% of the people who are on TikTok. But regardless,
one of the things, and I'm sorry,
that's okay.
but one of the things that has become so apparent to me because of the fact I've had to know about Taylor Swift, because I have a 9-year-old that loves Taylor Swift. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that can tell you, if you have a 9-year-old that loves Taylor Swift, you're going to know about Taylor Swift. Okay. But it wasn't until this recent drive right before the Eras tour that I realized just how many trends have been based on Taylor Swift songs. So many. So you can see that direct correlation where it's exposure, and artists were making sure to try and come up with something that would be emulated by people on TikTok. So
Mm-hmm.
that way it would become part of a trend. So, it was a very, very, intimate relationship that really was good for both sides. But, for one to flex over the other now we're going to see, what's going to happen. Who's going to flinch?
So I'm gonna take a second and interrupt everything that we're talking about, because I am
Right on.
now aware
I'll
that
have
I
more
do
follow-up.
have family that is watching. So I just wanted to reiterate how excited I am to be done with the show as quickly as possible, so that, which, mind you, with Will, it's going to still be
Every time you say that, I'm just mentally adding 5 minutes onto the show in my head. I'm
because
like, wait, any minute now, I'm just going to bust in and randomly figure out a way to integrate my Patreon exclusive membership coin, for the people that subscribe to my Patreon. I'm going to figure out how to way to
that was a
work that
great
into
little plug there for it too.
then you're stepping on my joke. Fair enough. Because I'm just like, I'm gonna figure out a way to bring this up into it, and that in itself will add like an extra few minutes onto the show. But
yeah.
yeah.
No, but yeah, so I'm just gonna say this again because my family is watching. I love you guys and thank you so much. I'm ready to waste my life on Spider-Man 2. So thank you
And
for
he's
that.
in no way responsible for anything that I say or do.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and move on. We talked about UMG. There are some other things. Now, this one, not so much enjoyable. If you weren't aware, it was announced today
Yes.
that Carl Weathers,
Yes.
the actor who was Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies, he was in Happy Gilmore. He's been most recently in The Mandalorian. And again, this is not all of his filmography because, of course, like I even think of things like Predator,
Dude,
the masculine Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the bro, like hand grab from Predator, like is a meme like you see everywhere. But Carl Weathers is no longer with us. Especially, I don't know all of the specifics, but anybody that has left a legacy, you think about it, he's an actor and he gets paid to do these parts. But we grew up on these characters. We grew up on these people.
dude, he's also one of the people that, at a certain point, Hollywood wanted to turn their back on. Okay, because I've been alive just as long as Carl Weathers had a career, you would say, because I knew him from the first Rocky movie onward. I've lived a life through cinema and TV with him, and there was a point where Hollywood didn't feel he had value, and there was a series of B movies, but you mentioned Happy Gilmore, and his part in that kind of helped a resurgence where he just kept popping like, oh my god, check it out, it's Carl Weathers. Oh my god, it's Carl. When the moment we saw him in The Mandalorian, like at first his character I don't think was as informed as it was by the second and third season where he was really enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
It just and it's the whole point though is I'm 50 going to be 53 very shortly. So I know for a fact that this guy had a career that spanned decades. And that in itself is an amazing accomplishment.
And I would say this, we oftentimes, I mean, we're fandoms, it's Nerd Initiative. Obviously, we nerd out about TV, movies, everything. At the end of the day, he's a person, and he leaves a family, he leaves, friends and loved ones that he knew. I think we if I could say anything, and I know we've done this in the past, is consider him more than just the films he's been in. And just remember, these are people too. I
mean, most recently on X, formerly known as Twitter, his response to anything that was directed at him, no matter what he said at the end, would be peace. And so there's a guy that's really trying to use his voice to get across a great message. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A really good human being.
Absolutely. Now let's go ahead and try to talk about a little bit more upbeat stuff. Something that I was excited to see I think it was just this week. We got a teaser in the form of a poster for Beetlejuice, which first of all I want to say is the perfect title because it makes me want them to have a third movie after this.
Yeah, they're right. They're baiting the hook with this one right there.
It is absolutely the best marketing for a second film, especially what it means in the context of the film. And then for them to have the ticker tape for the waiting room, and it be the date beyond there. Like how long have we been waiting for a Beetlejuice sequel? Well, were we really waiting for a Beetlejuice sequel?
I mean, the moment we saw Michael Keaton's Batman again in the Flash movie, yes, we did.
Yeah, the only redeeming part of that movie. But I digress. I will say, I wasn't expecting that I would be this excited for Beetlejuice 2. And it's because if you didn't know, well, maybe you didn't know, because I know I'm a wee bit younger than you, Beetlejuice had an animated series.
Yes.
How in the world they thought that was a good idea to have Beetlejuice for kids, I don't know. But mind you, I was a kid who watched the movie, who actually slightly enjoyed, and it was a thing where the movie the movie was like Beetlejuice is the bad guy. In the cartoon, he's the good guy. And if you remember, they did a lot of those type of cartoons, because I can think right now of the Little Shop of Horrors cartoon.
Oh my Lord, I didn't even know.
Where Audrey 2 was actually the good guy. Like, he didn't need people in the, it's crazy. But they had a long line of like bringing in movies that are cartoons that did not need to be like direct from the movies. But super excited about this. I know a lot of the cast are coming back. And definitely excited to see Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice and what kind of hijinks we're going to get. So, any other thoughts?
No, I'm just really looking forward to it. And given the fact that, the girl that they naturally cast the girl that played Wednesday, I have real high hopes. I have really, really high hopes for this. And I also do really hope we get a third one. And I also just want to have to honorable fandom mention, the Beetlejuice thing is one of the greatest long-running gags waiting for a joke to play out ever on the NBC hit comedy Community, because somebody says Beetlejuice once in 3 different seasons, and on the third time there he is in the background for a moment.
Yep.
But nothing to call it out. It just exists for us to find and love.
Well, let's face it, the Community was just a genius show. And then on top of that, you get the Russo brothers to do, what they do best. And it doesn't surprise me that the stuff that they were involved with in Marvel was well detailed, because they were thinking about all the small specifics. And I think that's what made those movies great. Now, speaking of, and we'll look at the contact us real quick, because if you'd like to know more about Nerd Initiative and about our newsletter, and what's going on, and you're not going on nerdinitiative.com, follow the contact us link, leave your information. We'll add you to our monthly newsletter. And we will tell you about some of the amazing stuff that we're doing. And this, I don't have a slide for this, but, Will, I don't know if you know about this. Rapper Kid Cudi has, done a comic book.
I did not know that.
And the New Comic Book Day we do every Wednesday. We can throw that up there too. With New Comic Book Day, one of our team members did a review. I believe Ken did the review. And Kid Cudi not only liked the review, he quoted and posted it on his X or Twitter or whatever we want to call it.
Oh, cool, man.
And like within hours, it was at over 40,000 views, which was just amazing. So yeah, I mean, great job with the bullpen. Be sure to catch them, especially on Wednesdays. You'll get other stuff throughout the week, but Wednesdays are important. And then Tuesday nights for Turn a Page, to get more comic book stuff. And then of course I have to do this because we've got our producer in the background making sure everything runs. But on Thursday nights, with Wrestling Night Live, this week they went over the results of Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. And I will admit, Rich has been involved enough now where I'm starting to get back into wrestling. I watched my first AEW match a couple weeks ago. I caught the final match for Royal Rumble on Peacock, and I'm starting to want to get back into it, which has been a long time coming. We're talking about, I stopped watching wrestling in 1999. So,
dude, look, we all need our stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. My wife watches Days of Our Lives. I can have like all the Star Wars shows or wrestling or whatever I want. We all have our stories in life.
And I think one of the things that I'm also learning, because it's been amazing. And if you don't know, Nerd Initiative is not just news or videos or live shows. It's very much a community. And it's been interesting to hear the conversations about how even in wrestling, the toxicity, where somebody that I followed because of another member in Nerd Initiative had posted recently about how disrespectful commentary on wrestling is nowadays. And one of the things I can tell you is the team for Nerd Initiative, Rich, Ken, the guys that are jumping in and doing their own stuff, they respect the sport. They respect the people. They're going to be honest about their report, about what they think about things. But really, we think about anime being toxic. We think about Marvel and DC and all of this other stuff. There's a big call for good reporting on all of the fandoms. And so, yeah, I can't say enough about how excited. And again, it's another thing I have to waste my, I shouldn't say waste my time on. It's another thing for me to lose more time because I'm never going to get caught up to One Piece and anime.
Look, here's what you do. Okay. It doesn't matter. You enter into this new thing.
There we go. That's
just
cool.
Find a way to make it content, man. That's all.
And if you guys haven't checked this out, first of all, it's amazing how in the comic book sector, there are such different stories being told. Distillery, you've got Moon Man, you've got Ghost Machine coming out. There's just so much going on with comics that it's more than just Superman and the X-Men and Spider-Man anymore. So if you're ever wanting to get into comics, try some of this new stuff.
I will.
So let's keep moving.
Come on, man.
Reporting. Let's talk about some more stuff that we're excited about seeing. Because I've got one that I'm not going to be, and I'm kind of trying to avoid it. The next one, we had a teaser. Sonic 3 is coming out in December of this year. We got a really cool logo, which is reminiscent to one of the older shows. And there was a character speaking. Some people thought it was Shadow, but it's been confirmed by Jim Carrey that he is coming back and reprising his role as Dr. Robotnik. Or Eggman in the show or in the movie, which is great because first of all, he doesn't do a lot of sequels, and I don't think he's ever done a third film. And then on top of that, he retired, or at least he said he retired.
Mm-hmm.
But the Sonic the Hedgehog series was actually close to his heart because his kids loved it and they wanted him to do it. So I figured if they were going to do a third film, they would come back to this. And I'm really fond of the Sonic franchise, especially for the fact of they had a horrible product in the first movie.
Oh yeah, those terrifying
teeth.
They
actually listened to the fans and turned around and was highly successful, even though it came out right before the pandemic was in full swing. So
yeah, they really did course correct on that horrible animation very well. And you got to think about it too. Like, not only did they probably come up with a new character design, but in order to expedite the process and make it move along faster, I'm sure that they ended up like having to create some filter or engine that mapped old character to new characters, so that way they wouldn't have to put in as much of the processing time. At least that's all I can think of.
They had to, because if you actually go back and watch the first film, it looks good. But there are moments where you can tell that he's not as either crisp or he has more reminiscent details of the ugly Sonic. But in the second film, that was all cleaned up, and that was all because it was all based off of the original model that they repurposed for the first film. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I love the tease for Shadow. It sounds like they've also brought on a number of other actors for the voice cast. So it sounds like we're going to get like Sally and Amy and a bunch of them too, which could be really exciting because I think the dynamic of bringing Knuckles on and having Tails worked really well. They don't have to tell the exact story from the video games or even from the comics, because there's a lot of rich lore when it comes to the comics. But they're definitely doing fan service, which I think it works really well for the characters. So
I enjoyed the first two.
Yeah. Let's talk about one more that we're looking forward to before we get into the next one. So also we got a fuller trailer for Ghostbusters. The Frozen Empire, which is looking, as much as I loved Afterlife, this film I feel like is just like ticking off all of the notches of what makes me excited. And when you saw that Feck was back,
mm-hmm.
And it looks like he's the mayor now.
Yeah, that looks like it.
So, which I thought was interesting. Some people are criticizing the trailer for the fact that he's basically saying that no one witnessed them saving the world, even though we know people saw the Statue of Liberty walking down the boulevard, and they saw them at the museum. And we know that everyone saw the Stay Puft March.
But then if you think about it, nobody really has seen them do anything except those that are directly involved. It's always in a circumstance where, like, there's some deniability. It could have still been something they all orchestrated.
Yep. And then also we get our first glimpse of Slimer returning. And we've got Janine in the actual the jumpsuit. I will say the one thing, and I've said this to a couple people, and some people are like, don't expect it to happen. I really hope that we see Rick Moranis come back to be his character.
It would be nice.
It would be. I feel like unless they're saving him for another film, like for the sequel to this one, I would really like to see him come back. And again, if you don't know, Rick Moranis took a sabbatical from doing any films. He basically retired. His wife passed away, and he took care of his kids. He made enough money on everything that he had been in, from Spaceballs to Ghostbusters to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The man didn't have to work. And so he was able to focus on his children, which is very commendable. But of course, his kids are grown. I really would love to see him come back to this role, if at all possible.
Is he the one that randomly got punched too?
Yes. He was the one that was walking down the street. He got punched by a stranger. Absolutely. That was him.
Who wants to punch Rick Moranis, and why? Did he really think he shrunk those kids or something?
I don't know. I have to imagine that the person who punched him didn't even know who he was. And it was just somebody just doing stupid and doing it well. But yeah, that was him. And that's like the last time we've heard about him. So it would be nice to have him come back and be in the movie.
And that would be something they would hold in their, side pocket.
Yeah. Unless they want to do a Spaceball sequel, then I would love to see him in that too. I mean, just Lord Helmet, you got to have it. So I've delayed this as much as possible. Madam Web is coming out in just 12 days.
Hey, Tony, I don't know if I've ever brought up like one of Kevin Smith's podcasts here on the show. But
you've never mentioned Kevin Smith before.
I know, it's funny that way. But one of those shows is a show called Hollywood Babylon, right? And in there is a segment, and I'll change the wording so as not to be more family friendly, since you do have family in the stream.
Yes,
it's S that should not be, and in there. Oh no, it's not even that one, because there's another one that's called Exquisite Acting, where they also say, something is so bad it goes all the way around and becomes good again. And I think that might be Madam Web.
Now,
I mean, one day it's going to be a great episode of MST3K.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and do a rundown of what we do know about Madam Web. Madam Web was supposed to occur in the exact same in the same universe as Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the MCU.
Now, no, do that. No, different.
And then they realized that the time frame that this movie was taking place did not work with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So then they decided they were going to try to do Andrew Garfield's, but it still didn't work that way.
No.
And so they just decided to get rid of all references to Spider-Man. So there's no Spider-Man in this universe that we know of. No. This movie took the daring chance that instead of like promoting the costumes in like a teaser trailer or anything else, they were released in Asia on soda packaging. There have been some criticisms of the costumes. There's been some criticisms for the styling, and it's almost as if they're kind of making fun of themselves when they've been asked about the movie. My hope is that they're misdirecting us. I think there's the potential that there could be a good film, and they're just making us doubt it. So that first weekend may be rough, but then when people come out raving about it, it could do really well. But I'm kind of more convinced. He's like, you hope for the best, but you expect the worst. I'm more expecting that this is going to be another Morpheus.
Which, by the way, I still have not seen Morpheus.
I can't get it right. Is it
Morpheus?
Morbius?
Mobius.
See, it's this forgettable. This movie has made me forget the comic book character's name. Like
Mobius.
I had COVID listen, I had COVID when I watched whatever it's called. I watched it and Shazam back to back. I enjoyed both. The fever broke, and then I can't ever go back to watch them again. It's just how it is.
I'm pretty sure it's Morbius. I don't know.
Thank you, Morbius. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate
it. Was like somehow I thought we were about to bring up Mephisto. I didn't know what was going on anymore. Sorry.
Well, I will tell you. Yeah. The thing is, the reason why I've been so mixed up is like I recently watched the Matrix, so Morpheus.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's
that's Morbius. Yeah, man.
And then I was just watching Loki season 2 with Mobius.
Yes. See, I'm so confused now.
Can we we need to get rid of these?
We need some of the Mobies to go away.
Yes, and it's like all of these Greek style names that
mo names, mo problems.
Yes, but yes, Madam Web is coming out the 14th. Did Sony have like a special popcorn bucket that's been announced for this movie? I don't think it has.
No. The only special popcorn bucket I've heard about is the one for Dune 2. And what on earth were they thinking?
I'm sorry. Did you see Rich's? All of them were better than Morbius.
Very good. Fair enough. I'm not gonna argue, man.
But yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, Sony has kind of burned me with the whole Morbius Spider-Man references in the trailers with like a complete bait and switch. And then if you haven't watched Morbius, which I understand why you're not watching it. And if this is a spoiler, plug your ears, but you'll probably never watch the movie anyway. Adrian Toomes does show up at the end of the movie at the end credits, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
In the realm of things, which is why Sony, I feel like, just keeps making these movies so that, I saw what you put in there. I'm not, that's a conversation I don't want to have.
Yeah. See, that's the Dune Part 2 popcorn bucket. It's a sandworm, right? That's when you look at that, you see sandworm, right?
Let's keep moving on.
Yeah.
So yes. So my goodness.
No, I know, man. With Sony, it's kind of like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And the fact that they've just gone like back and forth on like how things are. Everything they're doing screams the scene in Elf where James Caan says to the printer, it's like, the end of the book isn't there, and he's like little kids are gonna care. Just run it.
Well, it's like,
and that's
everybody goes like, you know what? The MCU is in shambles. Marvel can't get any worse. And Sony's like, hold my beer.
Right? They're like, don't worry. We've got a way to make Marvel worse.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want to brag about. Although, also let's pivot off of Madam Web, because who knows what we're going to get. We've got no faith in what they're giving us and based on past performance. And I think that's very much legitimate. But at the same time, right, we're also, there are other things that we've got prospects of to be excited about. So, let's talk about positive stuff.
Sure. Now we've kind of talked about most of the movies. Let's go ahead and get back into something positive. There's the goodness.
This is what happens when you give control to somebody else, by the way.
Oh, this is what happens when you have somebody that's in control, that's behind the scenes. They can
do whatever they want.
Remind you of things. It's Morbin time. Oh my goodness. Speaking of something that was actually pretty good, but we can have a discussion about it. But I want to say this beforehand. We watched the movie, we watched the shows, we did not read the books. But Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Yes.
So there have been some positives that have been said about this show. There have been some negatives that have been said about this show. Because we talked about Morbius too much, I was going to make a comment about Greek names and then bring in Percy Jackson. But
somebody stomped on that joke for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. The Morbin time thing got me. But really, I've seen two train of thoughts when it came to this show.
Mm-hmm.
Some thought it was too faithful to the books. Some thought that it was faithful, but they took all of the the climatic type stuff that kind of like got you excited from the story and kind of made it as dull as possible. Which honestly, I kind of feel like when you're covering a book like this, you're not going to be able to do that. It's not like Marvel where you want to leave on a cliffhanger to watch the next episode. People who are watching Percy Jackson want to know the story and want to know what happens. And so sometimes because they're breaking it up into sections, they can't end the show on a climax because it doesn't work when you're doing metered or properly length full episodes. They don't have those climaxes at the end.
Well, yeah, and sometimes even though they got through ordeals, it didn't really feel like there were stakes. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah.
So there was a little bit of that, but at the same time, I appreciated that they did something that I would like to see programs do more, even though they're on streaming. If you're going to release it weekly, then at the end of the episode and the end of the credits, throw me a taste of what's to come. And I believe in a lot of episodes they did that.
Yes, they did. In fact, that's something that I found is more common with animes than anything, because they do recaps and they do especially like the characters will narrate what to look forward to for the next episode. And I appreciate that. And I didn't realize how much I appreciated that with Percy Jackson. In fact, I didn't even look for it. I wasn't looking for end credit stuff or anything. But then the first time that I saw that there was a preview of what's to come, I got really excited. Yeah, because I'm like, okay, where's this going? Because I'll be honest with you, I did not realize how Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, the movie was so departed from the book. Like, I get it. I get where people, like, I know how frustrated Aragon made me when I watched the movie. I know how frustrating it is now with Ready Player One because I've read the book after watching the movie.
That is the second time you've brought up Aragon again, man. I mean, that one cut you deep.
Here's why. Okay, Rick Riordan that did the Percy Jackson. He's got his book, and they're probably gonna make series, and they can go to the next book. The author, who his name escapes me at the moment. Christopher Polini, who does Aragon, has been campaigning to try to get Disney to take the rights and to make an Aragon series. And if they were to do that, now seeing what they've done with Percy Jackson, I would be absolutely for that. Absolutely for it. Because here's the thing: if you've never read Aragon, the Urgles, the brutish barbarians that were kind of like the minions for that witch guy, the Shade, the Urgles were depicted as humans in the movie. They are more like minotaurs that you saw in Percy Jackson. And imagine that those characters were characters that they were running into on a constant basis. And the battles were bigger and more involved. And the stuff that you find out later on would have made so much better sense if you had read the books than ever watched that awful movie. And so I'm glad that they're willing to do this. I think Percy Jackson, the Olympians was a good series. I enjoyed it. I looked forward to seeing it. Now, I wasn't like doing what I normally do with Marvel movies and running to watch it at drop. But I was definitely invested. I was definitely excited. And I really think the cast was fantastic too.
Yeah. I was, I having never read any of the young adult novels with Percy Jackson, I really, I didn't really enjoy the movie that came out with Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. But with this show, they made it very relatable and presentable.
Mhm.
And, let's not ignore the fact, excellent story structure too. The penultimate episode, we get flashbacks to early times that, Percy's not aware of, and it's really meaningful the way they also tie those elements together for continuity geeks like us. There's a brief flash in, I'm going to say like the fourth episode. I can't remember how many there were, but the penultimate episode, Hermes touches Percy and we see a flash of a moment, which doesn't pay off until the next episode, but it pays off in the next episode. So,
Yeah.
That kind of thing I love too. Really good storytelling. The actors did a great job. And, for the people that did read the novels, I really got to kind of live vicariously through them because they were the whole St. Louis episode. St. Louis? No. Where is the arch?
I think it was St. Louis.
Okay, it is St. Louis. I question things because I'm a product of the public educational system, so not so good with geography. But with the St. Louis, the arch, a lot of people were like, I always looked at this and wondered how exactly he made it to the river. And, the show kind of addressed that. And I saw a lot of people that were really kind of thrilled about seeing that happen. So it was a great experience overall. And plus, kind of a wholesome show. You could really watch that almost at any level. Because even the scariest monster that they throw at us, it's wearing tidy whities, so that makes it more palatable.
Yeah, and I thought what was also interesting with the exception of the Minotaur, you had the monsters were kind of fleshed out a little bit better, and you kind of understood like they had an ulterior motive. There was another agenda going on. The Hades thing, like I love Rosario Dawson, but at the same time, it's kind of like the pearls and all of that. It was too sensationalized in the movie. I think it was given a little bit more grounding. I loved the fact that the head of Medusa was you saw what really was supposed to happen, and then it made so much more sense for the head to be returned to Cinder. Like that was fantastic. You seeing that payoff at the end, which I think was better than the one in the movie. Even though you kind of really mind you, I still hated that guy because of being Cypher in Matrix. Cause you forget every time I look at him, it's like, do I even care what a steak tastes like?
I do,
but at the same time, it's nice to see different. It was a little bit of a shock coming from the movie, but I definitely appreciated it more as I got into it. And I'm like, okay, I can put away what I've seen before. I still slightly enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun, some parts of it. I don't know what it was. I liked all of the Grover stuff from the movie.
Honestly speaking, man, that movie was so forgettable. I didn't remember any of it watching any of this for me.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, right? I was coming in fresh, baby.
I watch movies way too much. Like I'll have to watch them over and over again. So, but yeah, so super excited. Hopefully they will get a season 2. I think it was well received. One last thing to talk about. We're at 58 minutes and 50 seconds right now, which is fantastic because I told you I was going to try to keep focused here.
And I told you I was going to bait you into going longer.
But before we go into the last thing, which I think is something more that you're a tech guy, so I think you'll appreciate it too.
Yes.
Will, tell us about that amazing coin that we saw. Like what's that all about?
Oh, you're serious?
Yeah.
I was joking, man.
See, I want to give you a chance to go for it.
Very simple. There is I do have a Patreon. It is Netheads on Air on Patreon. And it's kind of like the world of my podcast. There's original content that's made, commercial-free versions of the podcast for everybody, special videos and the like. And one of the things that I had been trying to do for a long time was smelt my own challenge coin. And I'm still trying, but I failed so many times that I just literally, because I never touched my Patreon, I cashed it out and I had minted Patreon exclusive challenge coins. Okay. So with this thing here, you've got my show's logo, and three color technically. And then on the back, it exclaims what it is, which is a Patreon exclusive challenge coin. And this is a piece of artwork somebody did for us that's kind of a techno merge of Trent and I together into one kind of Borg-like being. So it's a really gorgeous coin, and they're starting to go out this weekend, and I'm really thrilled. And I've got so many of them. Clearly, I need more Patreon supporters, or else I'm just going to be emailing people that have come and gone and be like, "Hey, can I have your current address? Because I'm going to send you something." Because it's sad that they're just laying around. But anyway, you can find that patreon.com/netheads on there.
Yeah, I gotta follow you on Patreon.
Yeah, at least follow me, man.
Yeah, I need to. I'm telling you, I was kind of sitting there like, man, those coins are cool.
Yeah, they are. And, even if you join at the most basic level, I worked it out. So basically with the tiers, the most basic one is $1. And if you're a Patreon member for 6 months, you get a coin. If you go to the next tier up, I think it's 3 months, you get a coin. Now, you don't keep getting coins, but this is how you get your NetHeads coin that you can show to other members. You can discreetly pull from your pocket and hold the flash to people. And if they return, they've met the challenge of the coin. See, I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, it's like so one side has the brain, right?
Yes.
And the other side has the logo.
Yeah. Well, the merge. It's the brain is on the logo.
Okay, and then what's the other side?
The other side is Trent and I, in that kind of retro Borg-like.
Okay, let me just say this: it's both of your heads, right?
Yes, if you want to put it that way.
Let me just say this way: it is finally the coin that, and I'm OCD, so forgive me. That when you finally say heads or tails, there are heads, because whenever you say heads or tails, it's a head.
Well, here's a higher resolution version, just so you can see what that artwork looks like. It's just this is a 3D printed resin, so it comes off like a poker chip, and you can see that the logo on my own unrefined version here, not so fancy, but I've been trying to do this since 2021. For God's
Why does that
sakes.
look like a pog slammer?
Because this is a bigger early prototype, so that I could prove that they would print out, and like some of them, I went through a whole thing where I printed these up, and I wanted to demonstrate. Do you want it, or there would be a different tier where it would be the sparkly blue, another tier the coin you would get would be the gold metal one, right? And then I thought, hey, I can save a few bucks. I'll just put them inside of cards. At that point, however, you're running these things through the metered machine that is high volume and crushes the hell out of anything you sent. So that's why finally going with metal.
And for those who are listening or viewing, the fact that I said pog, if you're a Twitch, watcher or whatever, it's not the same thing. Look it up.
Yeah,
look up 90s pog.
Yeah,
because PogChamp was something completely different.
It was a useless piece of cardboard with some type of drawing on it that you
would
fight others with. Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, so thank you for allowing me that plug. I'm really proud of the coins. Look forward to more people having them. And it's not as gigantic as that one, like reasonably speaking, it wouldn't require much space to display it, and it could fit in your pocket and be easy to carry around.
Whenever you have to make those decisions, those hard decisions, like just flip the coin.
And by the way, I will still be going on this smelting journey because I still have a block of pewter and the pewter polish that you need to give it a good aged look. I just need to get a good solid new resin case, and then after I do that, I have to do molding to make the heat resistant molds, and that's the part.
I'm just glad you didn't burn your house down.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Next time.
Well, it's good to have goals. But regardless, we were talking about things. We have one last thing to talk about, and this is something that I find exciting. Will may, because technology and
see, this is where I thought you were going before when you were like, hey, Will, something really exciting, since you're kind of a tech guy, and I'm like, how in the heck did we get to my coin?
Well, I just decided to throw that in there before we got to this.
Gotcha.
So
makes more sense.
If you've not known, there is now a competition when it comes to AR style VR glasses. You've had the VR glasses for the PlayStation or PlayStation 5, which I'm good with that. We've got the was once the Oculus, but is now the Meta Quest and Quest 2, the Quest Pro and the Quest 3. I still have the Quest 2.
Okay. I too have 2.
Yeah, I will tell you, the 3 is tempting if it weren't for that price point. Just for the fact of the pass through where you can see the AR is much better with it.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that you could do laundry with your goggles on and have a TV show going while you're doing laundry. I could be tempted to do that.
Yeah.
And then you now have the most expensive of the sets at, I think, coming in at like $3,400 at a starting point, going up to like 38.99 with the Apple Vision Pro VR goggles, or I would say more AR, because they do have a pass through. You will be able to see the face. But it seems interesting, especially for the fact that Disney Plus has partnered with them to cause them having an immersive Disney Plus experience with the goggles.
I think the other important takeaway too, especially when you see all the advertising and example footage and stuff being shown for this, I think it's important to note that they are heavily leaning in to the other conveniences. In other words, they're heavily leaning into the fact that this is also a computer platform, and a lot of the stuff that you do, you can replace your other equipment in theory eventually with this. So they're like, it's not just the expense of the goggles, it's also you're paying for convenience and all the other computing things. Like the fact that it can spatially map your house, so that way you can have a recipe window open in the kitchen, but you walk away and that's no longer in your view, amazes me to no end.
Yeah. I mean, Meta did it with the Quest too. If you think they were starting to do it where you could map out furniture in your room. So like if you had a space that had a chair, the chair would exist in whatever environment you were in. So you would always know where you could sit down in the midst of doing it. But it was a lot of manual work. What's also interesting, my uncle and I were talking about this because I was bringing this up at the house tonight. He's impressed about how you can just kind of like use your hand now to gesture, and even the Oculus or the Quest 2 is able to do that. But it's becoming more of a thing where you can literally throw things and you can have multi displays. You can have peripherals connected, and honestly, based off of what I've seen, these goggles will run at the same speed as some of the some, I would say, not too far, Mac Minis. So you may not be able to do big heavy work on it, but if you're doing like video conferencing, or if you're wanting to do something, you have listen, I know you know how it is. I have 4 screens that I'm looking at right now. I have a monitor connected to HDMI above me, and then I have 3 screens. One's vertical, that are on DisplayPort, and to have that be there, but then still have the space in your house where those didn't need to physically be there, that's really compelling. Despite the fact that there's a 2.5 hour battery life and a battery pack that is externally connected to you, that you can see that cord coming out of the back of the goggles. So
yeah, but still, and the fact that it does the eye like see through as well, so that way, when you're talking to people, they can actually see that part of your face that's covered and they don't get all weirded out by it.
Yeah.
However, you see people using it, I get weirded out by it.
Yeah.
That's just me, brother.
What I think was funny though is I think I actually saw like part of their advertising programming had like somebody in like on a subway or something. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to do that. You're not.
No, because
first of all, you will be beaten and robbed.
You will be snatched, my friend.
That's
quickly.
like that's like walking around showing your diamond ring. You don't do that. You don't flaunt that kind of stuff. This is definitely a home thing. I will say, as much as I'm like, I use my VR, and which is funny because of our Cinema Smackdown episode, I will share this with you. Here's my Quest 2, and I told you it's the Ready Player One skin.
I gotta get that. That is so dope.
So yeah, and then I also have I have an external battery pack, but it's attached to the actual headset. I could not imagine it being like clipped to your waist or something. But I've
also heard Like I was actually, I just saw a video by like Casey Neistat right before this, and he was like, "Yeah, it's heavy as an anvil." When he was describing the Apple headset as well. So,
Mhm.
that's a major major thing, because if it's that heavy, it
Well, that's
may have a
why
2.5 hour battery, but how long are you going to tolerate that?
and see, this is where I think Apple products get the bad name because here's the thing. If it doesn't do well, they will not make future generations. But a lot of people are going to want to wait for the future generations before they do it. I know I have a series, I think it's a series 7 or series 8 watch. Um I had the series 2 and I'll tell you, I hated it every day after series 4 because it stopped becoming as functional as the newer watches. And you know, if it's not adopted, like here this tells you how bad it is. I was an early adopter of the Echo Ring.
Oh, dude.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was one of the beta testers for the Amazon Echo Ring. It was a black ring that you wore on your finger that you had a button right here that you'd push the button and you
Hmm.
could hold it to your head like this and you could make phone calls on it. It was Bluetooth connected to your phone. You could also ask Echo like different things. I had it.
Echo frames, baby.
And
Echo
how often do
frames.
you use them?
I I don't know why they're right here. They could be off at a quarter for all I know for how often. And it might be my previous lens, or it's my current lens. I don't know. Yeah,
And
that
then
was
remember Google, how they had their headset. Like
dude. Don't make me go grab my Google Glass again.
you have them? You have one?
I have one. Look. Go to my TikTok. Scroll way down on the page, and there's a point where it. Not only did I have I had Google frames. So I had a Google Glass. I had the Google frames, and even in the video, as I'm wearing it, I've said, "This is how committed I was to this. This is how serious I took
Wow.
this."
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let it go. The only thing I always had to have was a second pair of glasses, because when I was going into work, the moment I was crossing the threshold to the company, it was regular glasses on.
Yeah.
No potential for any concerns of any data leak from my head. That sounds weird.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
so did Google Glass as far as I'm concerned, man.
yeah. So one warning about the Apple Vision Pro
It
VR
costs too
goggles.
much. That's one
They
warning.
yes, they do cost too much. Mind you, if someone wanted to buy these for me or if Apple wanted to send me a pair, I would never say no to that. But I will say this, if you are ocular or visually impaired and you need to wear glasses or contacts, just understand this. You will need to wear contacts with these goggles unless you buy third-party prescription glasses or lenses for the goggles because you cannot wear glasses with them.
I
As opposed to like the Quest 2s where you could get an extension so that it would be farther off on your face and you could wear your glasses. These goggles don't have that ability. Do not expect them to be very accommodating size wise. In fact, there's only two notch settings. There's the close up and then there's the farther behind where you can adjust the headband. It doesn't look like there's much adjustment unless you buy a third party band. So just buyer beware. If you're paying $3,400 for something, just understand you may be paying a whole lot more for additional accessories.
You know
So
what's funny is that I have in my Oculus 2, I do have the extension so I can wear my glasses, in in the unit. But
mhm.
but honest to goodness, I've never done it because it always feels like with the glasses I have, it presses in too tight right here for me. So I still just ride or die with no glasses
Well,
on.
I will tell you, I got the Elite headband, the one that you can use to turn. Buyer beware on these as well. These break all the time. I've had this replaced twice already. They just decide to crumble on their own. But I will say this, knowing that you have a Quest 2,
Yes.
how are we not friends on Quest and how are we not
I
doing something together?
what do you do on what, watch a movie
We
together?
could go to we could go to big screen and watch a movie. We could go to Rec Room and play laser tag.
We could play laser tag. We could like pew
Yes.
pew pew at each
There's
other.
laser tag, there's paintball. There's actually like there's a dungeon quest thing where you can pick up swords and arrows, and you can go through and fight goblins and everything else. I need to introduce you to some fun stuff that is free that you can play on the Quest.
Yeah, I got mine for my birthday a few years ago, right? And I recently got, I think it's a dock station where you can set everything in and it automatically charges it.
I 3D printed my own.
And it's just been sitting there, literally. I never use it enough. And I think the reason why is because the last time I was playing Quiet Rich. The last time I was, he just told it for an hour and 15. I'm like, come on, man, I got him on the hook. What are you doing? Now I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, the last time I tried to play the Iron Man VR game, there was one point where suddenly the world just twisted on me and I was done. So I haven't gone back. That game
cracks me up because every so often my arm will just come out like this. Like it's if the goggles lose track of the controllers, they like go like really weird.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to set something up. It just has to coincide with like when my daughter goes to dance class, so that way my family can't make fun of me running between the living room and family room trying to shoot you with paintball.
Well, see, that's the funny thing. Like I have run into things too much, and now that I have Lego sets behind me that could easily be broken and then take forever to put back together, i.e. the Daily Bugle. I'm less apt to walk around in the space, so I will typically stay in my chair and I'll just spin around in circles.
That's probably that's a smarter and safer way to play, man.
And we should definitely do something, especially with the ability to stream what you're watching. So we have to do something.
Yeah.
But with that said, we are at an hour 16. And I've got some PS5 to set up. And
you mean wait, hold on. Are you telling me you had the gall to not get it set up before you started? So you still have to set it up. So nobody can be taking advantage of it while you're here.
I was with my family. We were supposed to leave the house at 7:00. At 7:15, my kid is in the garage playing hide and seek with his with his uncle, Papa. We call him Papa. He's like grandpa, uncle, like everything. And so they're out there playing, and of course you're going to let them play a little bit. And so we booked it home, and we got home at almost 7:40. So I'm setting up and getting everything running, and I've got it in a bag.
Okay.
Next to the
fair
desk.
enough. As the guy that was sending you messages while I was getting cardboard from my chiropractor's office, not his cardboard, it was just in my car, over to the recycling center, so that way I would have a free and clear area to take the dogs to the groomers tomorrow. And I was messaging you the whole time. Now I know why I wasn't really getting a response, because you're like, man, I'm trying to get home.
No, we were in the back rows.
Relax.
I live out in Hickville, so we don't get signal until we're at the house.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that was what's going on. So with that said, let me go ahead and just do my quick run through. Be sure to check out Nerd Initiative. You can go to the contact section on this QR code. It'll bring you to a point where you can put your information in. If you have questions, if you'd like to be participate with Nerd Initiative, you can leave information there. But most importantly, leave your contact so we can put you in our newsletter. On top of that, I want to just remind you, on Tuesdays is Turn a Page, which is our bullpen putting together and talking about a comic book or a series of comic books. They do a fantastic job running down and just giving you, basically making you excited to really delve into a storyline. They've done some amazing interviews. If you're not following the comic book team, the bullpen or Turn a Page, you're doing something wrong. And it also is a podcast, so you can also listen to it on the go. Then remember, on Wednesdays, New Comic Book Day. You will not see a whole lot of movie or television content on Wednesdays, because it would get lost in the sea of all of the comic books that we review, whether it's DC, Image, IDW, Marvel, Distillery, anything like that. If you want to know what's to watch, what's to read, you're going to want to go and check out Nerd Initiative on New Comic Book Day, nerdinitiative.com. And I also want to say, also a huge shout out to Comic Concierge, who does an article at the beginning of the week of what comic books to look forward to. It's his top 10 most anticipated comics. And then also on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday night, telling it right down the middle. We've got Rich and Ken doing the Wrestling Night Live, going over what's happened, what's going to happen. And of course, right now it's on the road to WrestleMania. So be sure to catch that out. I'm also going to speak this into existence because it's kind of been joked about. We are at some point going to be doing sports. And so I'm just going to let that come out there because sports fans are nerds too. Huge nerds.
Yay, sports ball.
What's that?
I said, yay, sports ball.
Yeah, yay team, yay sports. But then also to keep the lights on, just remember to check out the Nerd Initiative merchandise. There is some new stuff on there for Wrestling Night Live from our wrestling team. And we're going to have more stuff to come. But be sure to check that out. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Will, tell them where we can find you.
Oh, yeah, it's real easy. Just go to thatwillwilkins.com and it'll give you links to everywhere that I am. And that's Will Wilkins with 2 L's in the will. Because where there's 2 L's, there's a way. I don't know what that means.
Yep. And I'm Tony, also known as Mr. Marvel. You can find me on my socials. But most importantly, if you're watching and you're still here or you're still listening, let me tell you, if you don't like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for this channel or even our Twitter or YouTube, well, I guess it's X now, Instagram, TikTok, you're missing out on some of the great content that Nerd Initiative does. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell because you're going to want to know what Nerd Initiative is doing next because we're going to be doing some fun things. Oh, and one last thing, because I realized I did not mention this last time. Coming next month in March, AwesomeCon is going to be hitting in DC, and we will be doing a panel of expounding the MCU, what's to come in the Marvel multiverse. So be sure to go. It'll be on Friday at 1:30, and I believe it's room 207B at AwesomeCon, but you can definitely check it up. We should be on the roster for that. So lots of things to go. And of course, some of the team will be there as well. Matt's going to be coming from Florida from MegaCon and then heading up to, I didn't like the way I did that. Heading up to, I immediately thought of Thor Ragnarok. Heading to AwesomeCon. So there will be a number of us there to represent. And be sure to check us out there. Rich, did I miss anything? Are we good?
Subscribe to the YouTube.
Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Yes, make sure you subscribe, like and follow everywhere and anything. And you can throw money at us if you like to. I don't know how you would do that, but check out our nerdinitiative.com for more information on what we're doing. With that said, Will, thank you for joining me again.
My pleasure.
And Rich, thank you for producing. You're amazing. I will forgive you for putting up that Dune popcorn bucket. And the Morbius thing. Dude, you're taking liberties. I just realized that. We gotta have to have a talk. I'm kidding.
Get it together, man.
But with that said, thank you for joining Fandoms. We will catch you again in